Hello and welcome. I'm Bonnie Graves and I'm really excited to be tasting wine in Pismo Beach and some of the surrounding wine producing areas. And I'm here today with Mr. Claiborne Thompson.
Correct.
Of Claiborne and Churchill. And I've just gotten the story straight that his wife and longtime business partner Frederica is the Churchill portion. Am I getting this right?
Absolutely correct.
So we've got a husband and wife duo making some amazing wines, and one of the reasons why I was excited to stop here is that I think, Clay, you're really one of the pioneers in this area. I believe you said your first vintage, your first crush was in '83?
It was 1983, 29 years ago.
Really?
Correct, yeah.
So I think one of the things that's interesting about your story, like a lot of people, you came to wine after a very successful career in another field. Tell us a little bit about that transition and what brought you to this part of California.
It's actually amazing how many people in the wine business came from outside.
Yeah.
Some of them, of course, made incredible piles of money and then spent it all
That's
on a winery.
That's the easier way to get into the wine business,
way.
right?
You make a fortune
and then spend it in the wine business.
I was a professor of Old Norse in the University of Michigan for 12 years, and along about the time one has a midlife crisis, I became somewhat disillusioned and wanted to change careers.
Right.
So, to make a long story short, on an academic trip to California, I stumbled on this budding wine industry, tasted some wine at a local winery here, talked my way into a job as a cellar worker, went back home, got married, moved to California, and started this new career.
And as they say, it's history.
The rest is history. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I was such a newcomer, and yet I look around now, and we're the oldest winery under the same ownership in the Edna Valley. It's amazing. I'm like the dean of the Edna Valley now.
There you go.
I don't feel that old.
And a wonderful diplomat for the area. Let's locate where we are. We're mentioning Pismo Beach, but we're actually in beautiful Edna Valley. For the wine people out there, that's one of the American viticultural areas. That's part of the broader San Luis Obispo County area.
Right.
And one of the things that's important about the Edna Valley that we've been learning and kind of sharing is cool climate, some of those moderating influences. Even today it was super cloudy and foggy, had jackets on, and now in the later afternoon the sun has come out. It's brilliant and shining. And tell us a little bit about, and I'm going to go ahead and say, I remember distinctly tasting one of Clay's Rieslings and thinking, Eureka, you can make Riesling in California. So I think of you as a real specialist in aromatic white varietals.
Right, and cool climate varieties. Other wineries in the Edna Valley also do that. The red wine of cool climate viticulture is Pinot Noir. Everybody makes one. Chardonnay is also one. We make a tiny bit of Chardonnay, but we're not known for that. We're really known for this unusual niche of fruity but dry versions of wines that other people make sweet. We do dry Riesling, dry Gewürztraminer, Pinot Gris, dry Muscat, which is quite unusual. And they thrive in a cool climate like this. It's true, the ocean air comes right in from Pismo. The fog comes in and just sweeps down the Edna Valley and makes it, superb grape brewing area.
Well, and for the wine drinkers out there, and in my career as a sommelier, it's really important. If there's ever a word that's more abused or misunderstood in the wine business, it's dry. So we want to clear it, unless it's oaky or buttery. Those should be banned as well, I have to say. But when you're talking about a dry wine, what you're really talking about is all of the sugar present in the grape juice being fully converted into, that's what a winemaker's definition of a dry wine is. All of that sugar present in the grape juice through the miracle of fermentation is fermented into alcohol. We know a little CO2, the angels share, and some heat as part of the process. But it's important that people understand, particularly with some of these grape varietals like Riesling that I mentioned, where people have this assumption, wow, if it's Riesling, it must have a whole lot of sugar behind in the glass. It must be sticky, sweet dessert wine, which of course none of your whites are. They're all dry.
Correct, yeah. I will say that dry is a relative term to some extent. If you make a Riesling where virtually every gram of the sugar is gone, it's going to be a little tart. And so typically a dry wine is described as having 0.5% or less residual sugar. And the Riesling we've got now, the 2010, has 0.2, 0.2%. You can't get much drier. You could possibly get down to 0.1.
Right.
But and it's super dry, yeah.
Well, and I think one of the things that I really love about that whole family, whether you're looking at Alsace, France as a model, to Germany as a model, these kind of aromatic whites fermented dry are incredibly food friendly.
Gosh, yeah.
So yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm all for those, big butter bomb Chardonnays if that's what floats your boat, but they don't always complement food as well as a dry Riesling or a dry Pinot Gris, another great choice. Can you give us any ideas of what kind of food complements your style of white wines before we talk about your Pinot?
You named the most versatile white wine there is, and that's Riesling.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes with everything. Vegetarian
Asian
dishes,
food, Thai
Asian
food,
food,
yeah.
right, spicy food, Cajun food, but it really shines with shellfish. Well, any kind of fish, but shellfish. Dungeness crab and Riesling, heaven.
It is one of the classics, yeah.
I mean, you can't get any better than that.
How about Gewürztraminer? It's a grape that I love, but that's also a grape that really needs the right food, I think, to sing well. I mean, I actually like Gewürz with like Vietnamese food with some of those flavors.
Gewürz, yeah, a lot of people treat Gewürztraminer almost as an aperitif wine, and I don't object to that at all. In Alsace, it might be the wine you would toast, before dinner with or something, because it's so special, so spicy, so aromatic that it can overpower some food.
It's actually the wine you pray for on a sommelier blind tasting exam, because you stick your nose and you go, oh, I'm reassured, it's definitely Gewürztraminer. It doesn't smell like anything else.
Yeah, but it's also the wine that we recommend with foods that are so diverse that you need something that satisfies all the different pairings, and that's Thanksgiving dinner. So every November we make a point of saying it's the perfect Thanksgiving wine, because you've got an in-between meat, turkey or ham. It's not white, it's not red. You've got sweet, potatoes. You've got cranberry sauce, and so you've got all kinds of flavors and degrees of sugar. And Gewürztraminer will kind of wrap itself around all those dishes.
Well, talking Thanksgiving is a great transition into Pinot Noir, because I think I've written the same article 900 times about, or at least answered that email or that phone call 900 times about, Bonnie, what should we drink with Thanksgiving? I also, if you're a drinker of red, Pinot Noir, of course, is also one of the greats to pair with Thanksgiving dinner. And I'm not as familiar with your Pinot, so tell me a little bit about your Pinot Noir program. I'll be a little bit geeky here and ask what kind of clones you're working with, and are you blending, and a little bit about your reds.
I'll get to that in 2 seconds, but I should hasten to say that on our Thanksgiving dinner table, we do have a bottle of Gewürztraminer and a bottle of Pinot Noir.
There you go. That sounds perfect to me.
You have to have
You got to have Pinot.
We started our Pinot program some years ago, but there was very little planted here in the Edna Valley, and we are kind of at the mercy of the market because we buy most of our grapes. We have only 6 acres ourselves. In the 90s, people started planting more Pinot Noir, and then and so we would make a couple of hundred cases. We would sell it only in the tasting room. When Sideways came out, in whatever year that was, we went overnight from 200 cases a year to 2,000 cases a year. And now we're at that level. We make 3 different Pinot Noirs. We buy grapes from 5 different vineyards, including Jean-Pierre Wolf across the way, and some homeowners down on Twin Creeks Way. They have different clones. We get 4 different clones from Jean-Pierre. We get 115, 666, 777, and Pomard. The older clones are planted down in what we call our Twin Creeks area, and they are 113, 2A, Martini. And so the classic Pinot Noir that we sell all over the country is a blend of everything. It is a cross-section of the Pinot Noir of the Edna Valley. We make 2 other specialty Pinots, one we call Runestone, and there's higher price point, and it has its own special quality. It's basically more complex, more layered, more ageable, more silky. And then the Twin Creeks, which is made exclusively from those grapes down on Twin Creeks Way, is spicier. It has more of a bite. It has a kind of cola flavor. And so it has its own distinctive profile also. But yeah, Pinot Noir is now it's like the tail wagging the dog. I mean, it's such a big wine that we make more of that than we do of Gewürztraminer now.
Yeah, interesting. Let's go ahead and taste what got a little something here. I'm getting thirsty.
Right. So this would be a barrel that's going to go into our Runestone Pinot Noir.
Okay.
It's, as Pinot is, not a deep, dark Syrah-like wine. It's a translucent, should I say feminine? What do you think?
I think your experience with white winemaking is reflected. This is fast in your Pinot, where there's a delicacy there. And as you say, that you're not trying to make. I mean, nowadays we won't name names, and there's a wine out there for everyone. But certain Pinot Noirs, when you're pushing the alcohol and the extraction up to over 14.5, up to 15%, to me they become indistinguishable from a Zinfandel, where it loses that delicacy. And to use your word, and again, this is a dangerous word to use, folks, is Pinot a feminine grape? But when we're talking about that delicacy and that finesse style, that's a word that makes sense.
Let's call it elegant. I mean,
elegant, maybe that's a better
word. It's one of my pet peeves, and I think a lot of people are coming over to that point of view, is that those big, beefy Pinot Noirs that may even have some additional red wine.
Imagine some Syrah.
Imagine Syrah or Petit Syrah or something. They are impressive when you stick your nose in it, and they knock your socks off when you take a sip, but you don't want to pitch face forward into your soup halfway through the dinner, from 16% alcohol or something like that.
Exactly.
That's my feeling.
So my quick reaction to this is, and you said this is going to go into the Runestone blend, definitely has a very kind of soft but pretty kind of florality and a kind of a spice component to it as well, like a little hint of cardamom, but really, really pretty wine, pretty kind of finesse style.
Appreciate it.
And how much of the Runestone do you make? Is it a small production for you?
Right, we do 200 cases of that.
200 cases.
It's sold only in the tasting room and to the wine club. In fact, we rarely pour it because the wine club alone takes 100 cases, and that leaves 100 left. And
well, let's go back to folks who might be coming over from Pismo. And the thing that's great, again, and we've mentioned this a few times, and even I have some family members who live in the San Luis Obispo area, and I think even a lot of locals don't realize just how great the wine is that's right in their backyard, let alone people from other parts of California who are like, oh, well, if it's from Napa, it's from Sonoma, and now, of course, with Sideways, Santa Barbara's made its mark. But still, this area, Edna Valley, and some of the amazing wines that are coming from this area still kind of are a little bit of a hidden treasure, at least I think so. So if people really want to come and find your wines, we're about halfway, I would say about halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. You could kind of set up shop maybe in Pismo Beach. There's a whole, lovely number of places. But how many wineries are we talking about? You're one of the originals here.
Well, in the Edna Valley, I don't have a count. I'd say 8 or 10. There are a lot more brands because there are places that make more than one brand of wine under the same roof. But I mean, there's more than you can do in one day, and it's a 5-minute drive from Pismo Beach. I mean, there's a straight shot on Price Canyon Road from downtown Pismo Beach to the heart of the Edna Valley, and there's this wonderful, I guess I'd say, symbiosis between the beach town and the wine country. I mean, it's for a vacation, it doesn't get any better than that,
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people want to have as a takeaway. I mean, you can go to wine country, and if wine is your only thing, that's great. You can go to a beach vacation, play with your kids in the sand, but this is really one of the rare areas in California where you can actually do both and do it in the same day, which I think is quite unique about the area. So it's a little bit of something for everyone. Beach for the kids if you're a surfer, great restaurants. There's kind of family hotels and B&Bs up to, more glamorous resorts, but there's also fantastic wine, which is really part of what we're hoping folks understand about this area.
Yeah. There are some world-class Pinot Noirs in this area.
For sure.
Yeah.
On that note, I want to thank you for your time, and folks, I want to find out if I can get on the Claiborne and Churchill mailing list so that I can get this delicious Runestone Pinot, really beautiful finesse style, gorgeous wine.
We'll work on that.
We'll work on that. Cheers. Thanks for sharing.